Welcome today back to my channel. Today I will be showing you how to create a Pathfinder character. Now if you do not know what Pathfinder is, but know what like D&D is, it's like that but it's a different format. Now for creating a character, which I know Google right here, not actually anything there, you can actually find most of the stuff on the Payza website, being the D20 PFSRD. Also, archived underneath this is a really good place to look for anything Pathfinder related. Now, when you're talking about creating a character for Pathfinder, or any role-playing game in general, what you need to do is think of a concept. A good example here is if you want to be stealthy and be able to strike before anybody ever realizes you're there, rogue is a good option. Want to be able to cast massive damage dealing spells, sorcerer, wizard could be really good options there. If you want game changing options for manipulating the world around you, no matter what you're looking for, a fighter to be up front to take a lot of damage and still dish out a lot. No matter what, you're talking about role playing. What you need a concept for is to give you a good idea on what you're wanting to actually play as. Today I will be showing you how to make a character, but I'll be showing you how to make a fighter. Concept here, we want to be a general basic type of build. We want to be a strong hitter. We want to hit and deal a good amount of damage, but we want to be able to take a good amount of damage. And this is where the fighter, right here, can actually come into play. You have a good description of what they are, their role inside of a group, alignment. Now, alignment are something on its own. Primarily, what you think of is good or evil. Now, these are the alignments that you have: good, evil, chaotic, lawful, and neutral. Depending on what alignment you have, depends on how you play your character and what restrictions you have. Good example: you can play as a neutral evil character, which neutral on its own means you're neither good nor evil. It basically whatever comes to you and is needed at the time. Good means you try to do the right thing. Evil, you try to do the wrong thing. Lawful, you tend to try to stick to the law. While chaotic, you don't care about it and you can do some crazy things sometimes. You're more of an unpredictable. But that's what alignments are. Now the reason why I say restrictions, going back here, if I actually open up Pathfinder Paladins, if I can spell it correctly, yeah, you can tell I've looked at a lot of Pathfinder stuff. Going over to Pathfinder Paladin is a good example. Ignore the fact of all this right here. What you see with the base attack bonus, everything like that, ignore that for now. We have the alignment. Paladins have to be lawful good, means they have to follow the law and try to do the right thing. They follow gods that give them no power. Now, just because you're playing like what I'm going to be doing the example for as the fighter, does not mean you need to ultimately follow a deity, a god. But we'll get into things like spell casters and paladins in a later video. For now, we just want to focus on the fighter. Just look at the fighter. As you can see, there is something called hit die. That is basically the type of die you use to calculate your hit points. Hit points is a number on your character sheet which tells you how much damage or how hard you can be hit before you die. Here is a character sheet. Yeah, I know some of it's actually not there completely. I know it's blurry a little bit. I apologize. But as you see, HP stands for hit points. In the box to the right by it, is where you put your total hit points. Now that that's out of the way, hit points actually you roll the bases like this. You roll the proper die, because the fact that just because you're playing a fighter and it's a D10, which is actually really good, does not mean all classes are going to be like that. Let me actually pop open another class for an example. One good example is the wizard. The wizards have spells that can change the entire game, can manipulate the world around them, but as you can see, the hit die is only a D6, meaning they cannot take as much damage as like your fighters. I'm sorry about that. That's my cup. Apologize. Gonna happen again because of closing. Sorry. But as you can see, depending on what class you play as, depends on how much hit points based off the hit die they're gonna have. Now, it is not just dependent on the hit die. Going back over to the character sheet, you have 6 stats. SDR means strength. DEX stands for dexterity. CON stands for constitution. INT stands for intelligence. WIS stands for wisdom. And CHA stands for charisma. Now, each stat on its own actually is used for every character, but some are used more than others. Like the strength, for a good example, that will be used primarily for our fighter. Reason why is because we want to build a character that can deal a lot of damage right out of the box. So we can deal a lot of damage and be really good at dealing this damage. Next, we have dexterity. Dexterity is primarily used for your ranged weapons. Kind of think of it like a bow. You have a sword, it uses strength for damage and for increasing the chance for you to hit the enemy. Dexterity is used for ranged weapons for the chance to hit. Now, there are ways to make it to where you can actually use dexterity for damage and chance to hit for like swords. But we're not going to get into that. We're going to stick with stereotypical fighter as we are. Now, getting that out of the way, the Constitution, also known as Con, C-O-N, is used for hit points. You have a total number of hit points per level that you have. We're going to be starting off as a first level fighter, which means we will get automatically, we do not roll the D10 hit die. We automatically start off with the maximum hit points. Let's say we have a Constitution score of 14. The formula to calculate the bonus, just because you have a certain number inside of the modifier, does not mean that's the bonus that you gain to things. Let's say we have a Constitution of 14. To calculate what we would actually have, I'll open up a calculator so you can actually see a bit better. Apologize, give me a moment. There it is. Yeah. Okay, right here. We have 14 hit points. What you do to total up the bonus is you subtract 10 divided by 2. Means we have a +2 bonus, which means at first level we would have 12 hit points. 10 plus 2, 12. Now, that applies to all the stats, being strength, dexterity, constitution, intelligence, wisdom, and charisma. But if you have, say, a 13, it's the same formula. Subtract 10 divided by 2. Now, standard rules of mathematics, it'd be 1.5 rounded up, which would be 2. But in this case, it is actually rounded down. So, rounding it down, we have 1 bonus. We're going to stick with the example for 14, and we will continue from there. Now, knowing that we have 12 hit points, that is a good basis point for you to learn how the stats actually contribute to the character in some ways. To deal lots of damage with a sword normally, what you want to do is have a very high strength. That's for the example I'm giving here of the sword. You have a few standard things you can do when you're talking about a strength-based character. You can be the standard sword and shield type, which where you have sword in one hand, shield in another. The dual wielding, which is where you wield 2 weapons at the same time to help deal extra damage. Or you can be the single-handed fighter, which is where you use one hand to fight with, and that is it. There are more options than that for fighting, but that's just examples I'm giving here. Next, you have class skills. As you can see, by each skill, which is highlighted in blue and underlined, tells you what the name of the skill is and what score they use. Like climb, which is the first one. Climb, you need to actually, to be able to help climb better, you need to have climb as a skill where you have ranks inside. We'll get into ranks in a minute. But as you see to the right of climb, in parentheses it has strength marked. And if you look beyond that, you can see craft, which has intelligence marked. Those are the appropriate stats you need to actually help contribute to making that skill better. Now, each skill has its own requirement for a stat. Standardly, the knowledge skills you see here, knowledge dungeoneering, knowledge engineering, which there are more than that. We're not going to get into that right now. They are always intelligence. Or things like profession, which can be like profession dancer, which is basically telling what kind of job you can do. You can use profession cook to help make it so we can actually cook. Or there's pretty much endless options. Professions singer, which way you can sing. I'm giving the wrong example. I apologize. Profession is like profession cook. Perform is like singing, dancing. I apologize. But as you see, profession has wisdom marked in parentheses as the required stat for it, which means that is the stat we will be using for it. Now looking at skill ranks per level. Let's say we have a intelligence of a 12. Okay? As you see, the fighter ranks per level is 2 plus intelligence modifier, which is the bonus. So we take our intelligence, subtract 10, divided by 2. Which means we have 2 plus 1 skill points at this level. We have 3 skill points. Skill points are spent on the class skills or other skills that are not class skills. Every class skill, you actually gain a plus 3 bonus for it being a class skill. And let's say we want to put a rank inside of climb. Let's say our strength is an 18, subtract 10 divided by 2. That is the bonus we have for it. Now, since our bonus is 4 for strength and we want to put 1 rank in, that means 1 rank plus the bonus of strength plus 3 for being a class skill equals 8. That is the bonus you have to your skill. Total bonus. The way you make a skill check, which uses the class skills, or non-class skills, I should say, to be able to actually perform a skill, like the climb. You take the bonus, which we just calculated with the calculator here, and you roll 1d20 plus that number, which is the total bonus. The total bonus we have to actually using the skill. So let's say we roll like 12. 12 plus 8 would equal 20. That means what we have is a 20 for us trying to climb. And with that, we most likely will be able to actually climb anything in general that we are trying to climb. Now, there are such things as negatives, which are basically how hard something is. Let's say it is raining and you are trying to climb a wall. Let's say we rolled in total up equaling a 20 for a climb check. Even though this can vary between conditions, let's say we take a -2 because it's raining. That means we take the total that we actually have and then subtract 2 from it. It's because it makes it more difficult. Now, knowing that, we can actually go down to the fighter table. You can see you have the level on the far left, base attack bonus, fort save, reflex save, will save, and then specials. Now, the level indicates what level. Basically, first level. We are level 1, which means that level 1 chart, level 1 section of the chart, we have everything from there, from the left to the right. Our base attack bonus is 1, fort save is 2, reflex save is 0, will save is 0, and we gain 1 bonus feat. I will be going into bonus feats later. The base attack bonus is a bonus to the chance to hit. Going back to the example of our 18 for strength. Subtract 10 divided by 2 to be able to get the bonus. You see, we take the base attack bonus and add that to our score, which will be a +1 bonus, as noted on the table, plus our strength, which is a bonus of 4. Making to where our chance to hit is 5, which means we roll 1d20 and add that bonus to it, being your strength bonus plus the base attack bonus. And let's say we get a 16. 16 plus 5 equals 21. Now, some DMs, which is also known as Dungeon Masters, or GMs, which are also known as Game Masters, which are the people who run the game for you to enjoy, which, please, just because they make a mistake, do not judge them too harshly. They are trying to provide a game that you can enjoy and for everybody to enjoy together. You have something called AC, which is armor class, which sometimes the DM will tell you the AC of the monster, or they won't tell you and you will need to tell them what you have totaled up, being right here, for your attack roll, which is where you roll the d20 and add your base attack bonus plus your strength in this scenario. But let's say that we're not using a sword, we're using a bow, and our dexterity is a 10. Well, when you have it being like this, you have subtract 10, but then divide it by 2. Anything divided by 0 is 0, just like anything times 0 is 0. Which means we gain no bonus or no negative to attacking with a bow, because dexterity is used for ranged weapons. So that means our base attack bonus of a 1 plus 0, so we have no bonus, equals 1, which means that is our chance to hit. And I apologize, there was a noise, I accidentally hit my mic stand. Now, let's say we have a number lower than 10 in any score. Let's say we have a 8. Well, subtract 10, divide that by 2 is not going to do any good, because the fact is the way it works is if you have anything less than 10, it is simply subtract 10. Oh, sorry, it's subtract 10 divided by 2 still. Which means we have a -1 to hit when it comes down to this. We're going to use this example for dexterity. Ranged weapons use dexterity for the chance to hit, but let's say we have the negative here, being the example of 8 minus 10, divide that by 2, which is -1. So that'd be 1 minus 1, because we have a -1, equals 0, which means whatever we roll plus 0 is our chance to hit. I know it sucks, it's not that good, but that can happen with any score. Intelligence is a good example when it comes down to skill points. Fighter has 2 plus intelligence. Going back to the same example of 8 minus 10, divide that by 2, equals -1. Now let's say that this is our intelligence bonus, which is a -1. That means it's going to be 2 skill points minus 1. And with that, we only gain 1 skill point. The higher your intelligence, the more skill points you have. But skill points are not everything. Now, we have more than the base attack bonus, but if you see, as we scroll down, at 6th level, it goes up to 6/1. Which means, standardly at 1st level, you have 1 attack, and when it turns to a 6/1, here for an example, you have 2 attacks. The wizard is a good example here as well. 1st level, you gain a +0 bonus to your attack. But as you increase in levels, you eventually gain a 2nd attack. As you see, at 12th level, you have 6/1 as your attack. You see, every time you get an extra attack, it gives you another attack, of course, but you can see going down back to the fighter, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 as your base attack bonus up to 6th level. Every time you have another attack hit 6, you gain another attack. Up to a normal maximum of 4 attacks at 20th level. As you can see at 20th level, the base attack bonus varies. It is 20, 15, 10, 5 for a fighter at 20th level, which means Every time you get an extra attack, it is minus 5. So, at 20th level, we have 20 as the base attack bonus, and I apologize for the page jumping. You have 20. First attack, 20 plus whatever you roll, plus your strength modifier or dexterity. Depends if you're using a melee weapon, which is like swords, great swords, clubs, staffs, or a ranged weapon being dexterity, like bows, slings, crossbows, and any type of gun, frankly, is a ranged weapon. It is 20 plus dexterity or strength, depending on what it is, plus what you roll. For the second attack, it is 15 plus your appropriate modifier being strength or dexterity, depending on, of course, melee or ranged weapon, plus what you roll. Because you see, it's minus 5. Every attack decreases by 5 once more. It makes it harder for you to hit with the next attack. It makes it balanced so you don't literally kill every creature you run across automatically without putting up a fight. And now that that's out of the way, I'm going to tell you about the saves. Fort save is used to help resist poisons and effects like poisons. Reflex save is to help dodge things like a fireball or things falling a lot of times. Depends on your DM. And reflex saves aren't just used for those, but they're used for more than just that. Will save is used for a lot of things, mostly mind-affecting effects. Like when something's trying to take control of you. If I go over to a monster real quick. We can look at the vampire. You see, this is one of the many monsters inside of Pathfinder for you to be able to face. If I scroll down, you can see what has special attacks, blood drain, and a bunch more. But if we look over here, dominate. The dominate ability, which as noted here, I will read from it. A vampire can crush a humanoid opponent's will as a standard action. Anyone the vampire targets must make a successful will save or fall instantly under the vampire's influence, which means control, as though by the dominate person spell. Now, spells work differently. I'm not getting into spells just yet, but this is the example here. With a caster level of 12, This ability has a range of 30 feet. At the GM's discretion, some vampires might be able to affect different creature types with this power. As you see, as it states, must make a successful will save or fall under the vampire's influence. The fighter here, it is used, will save primarily used for things trying to take control of you, but there are some cases where it's used for other things besides that. Now, the reason why all the stats are used is a really good example. As you see here, I know it's blurry, but you have fortitude, reflex, and will, which is where you have fort save, reflex save, and will save, being fort, will, that kind of thing. But besides that, I know you can't see it here, but fort save is a good example. We have a constitution of a 12 for a good example. Subtract 10 divided by 2. We have a +1 bonus for hit points. but also fort save, fighter. It has a +2 bonus for its fort save. Fort save uses Constitution. So we take our bonus from our Constitution, add the bonus from our fort save, which at first level will be 2. Now, that is a pretty good bonus for it because your main fighting classes actually have good forts. Now, if you look over here at the wizard has a bad fort and bad reflex, while the fighter has good fort, bad reflex, bad will. Entire reason, I'll explain in just a second, give me a moment. Sorry, taking a drink. Reason why is the fact that wizards don't need to be up in front in combat as much as what any other class normally does. In doing so, the base attack bonus is going to be lower, the fort and reflex save are going to be lower, but the will save are going to be higher because the fact is they deal with spells, like the dominate person spell, which I gave an example from the vampire. Now, with this knowledge, we know that wizards are going to have a better chance to actually withstand spells like dominate person, while classes like the fighters will not. As you can see, by 20th level, you have 6, 6, 12, meaning fort 6, reflex 6, will 12. Every class always have one save that is always going to equal 12. Some classes have more. Look at the paladin for a good example. You have fort save of 12, will save of 12, while reflex of 6. That is one really good example. And primarily, the reflex save, fort save, and will save, they are primarily very important because the fact is you're going to run into a lot of things that will actually make you have to use them. Let's say you have a wizard casting spells on you. Cast something like a fireball, which gives a reflex save. With a reflex save, you need to roll your d20 plus any appropriate modifiers. For reflex, use dexterity. If we have a dexterity of 14, we subtract 10 divided by 2. We're still going to go with the example of first level, which you can see that it is a 0 for the reflex save. That means we add 0 to that, and it equals 2. We roll a d20, and let's say we roll a 10. 10 plus 2 is a 12. We have to actually get we have to roll a certain number and get a certain total of a number to be able to beat the DC of the spell, which is basically the challenge that you're going to have to overcome for that one save. The DCs vary between different effects, sometimes traps. Well, let's say will save, something's trying to take over our mind, like the vampire. Let's say we have 12 for our wisdom. We subtract 10, divide that by 2, and then add the will save bonus, which is 0, so plus 0. We roll a d20 and add the total bonus that we have calculated, take consideration of will, a wisdom, and a will save bonus. Now, on the chart you can see it says plus 2, plus 3, plus 3, plus 4, plus 4, and so on and so forth for the fort save, plus 0, plus 0, plus 1, plus 1, plus 1, and so forth for reflex and fort for the fighter. This does not mean, ultimately, that it's going to be 2 plus 3. That means the 2 for the fort save changes to a 3. And so on and so forth with the saves, and same thing with the base attack bonus. When you are first level, your base attack bonus is +1. But when you hit second level, it changes to a +2. And so on and so forth, all the way up to 20th level. Now, depending on what you're going for your basis, for what you want to play as, depends on what class you're going to be. Now, I know this video's been going on a while, but bear with me. Fighters are the easiest classes to play as, primarily because you don't have to deal with any of the complex mathematics of playing classes like the Wizard, Sorcerer, Cleric, Paladin, and so on. Each class has their own set of specials. A bonus feat, as noted down here, I will read off verbatim. At first level and every level thereafter, a fighter gains a bonus feat in addition to those granted from normal advancement, meaning that the fighter gains a feat every level. These bonus feats must be selected from all those listed as combat feats, sometimes also called fighter bonus feats. You see right here, feats for this you have to choose the bonus feats being combat feats. But if you look at the Wizard, they also gain bonus feats. But I'll read verbatim from the Wizard's bonus feat as soon as I find it. Bonus feat. At 5th, 10th, 15th, and 20th level, a Wizard gains a bonus feat. It must, at each such opportunity, he can choose a metamagic feat, an item creation feat, or spell mastery feat. Now, it's funny. As you see, different classes that gain bonus feats have different feats they actually can choose from. Metamagic feats are used for your spellcasters for enhancing and strengthening the spells, to make you cast more spells in one turn, or be able to make them more powerful to deal more damage, or harder for your opponent to be able to resist with any appropriate save that is needed. Item creation feats, as in the name, they are necessary to create magical items. Like say that sword we have for the fighter, which at this level we have a total chance to hit of attack from total chance of hit of your strength minus 10 divided by 2 plus the base attack bonus of a 1. You see, by spending money or having somebody upgrade your weapon for you, you can actually have it enhanced to give you a better chance to hit. You have a bonus of +1 to 5, being 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Each one varying on the bonus, of course, that it gives. A +1 bonus would give you a +1 extra bonus to chance to hit, which would change it to a 6 at first level. Let's say we have a 5, +5 longsword. We add +5, and that adds into the chance to hit. Now, if you're getting into playing, I should have said this in the beginning, but I said if you get into playing role-playing games, tabletop role-playing games like this, I highly suggest getting a hold of some dice. And also getting a hold of a copy of the core rulebook, which has pretty much every role you need to know as a player, and or a beginner DM, also known as GM, for when starting out. Now, as you see, bonus feat, armor training, bravery. You gain different things, different classes for specials. But for like Wizard first level, you get Arcane Bond, Arcane School, Cantrips, Scribe Scroll. I will go into the spellcasting another video. But it's an example there. Each class has its own set specials they gain. Bravery is something else on there, which I'll get to in a minute. You have armor and weapon proficiency. This is important. Like, very important. It's like one of the most important things you can actually have for your character. Especially when you're talking about playing a fighter. As I will read, with the armor and weapon proficiencies, a fighter is proficient with all simple and martial weapons, and with all armor, heavy, light, and medium, and shields, including tower shields. Now, if we look at weapons, there are more weapons than what you would expect. As you see, you have simple, martial, exotic. Those are the three kind of weapons for the categories. And then you have subcategories like light melee weapons, which this one here is simple. Let me actually increase this here so you can see it a bit better. Here's a simple unarmed attack that you can use. It's a simple unarmed weapon. You have a simple unarmed weapon being like a gauntlet. That is a simple weapon, which means we are proficient with all simple weapons. Which means any simple weapon in the list, spiked gauntlet, hooked hand, mace, clubs, simple two-handed weapons, long spear is a good example. Simple ranged weapons like blowgun, crossbow, darts, javelin, sling. Yeah, we'll fish from all of them. Now, when it comes down to like bows, slings, and whatnot, you have ammunition, of course. And you don't just get the bow, for good example, and automatically have the ammunition unlimited. You have to actually pay for them, which is listed inside of the Peso forms on charts and everything. Just look up Pathfinder weapons and you get a good gist. Martial weapons are different than simple weapons. Now, you have a bunch of things like the throwing axe, light hammer, hand axe. Yeah, you have a lot of things here. You have one-handed martial weapons, two-handed, which I know is not exactly coming in great here, but I apologize. But yeah, as you can see, there are multiple different things here for you to do. There are martial ranged weapons, like the longbow, and more than just that. And then you have the martial ammunition like arrows, common arrows. 1 gold is let you be able to obtain and actually buy 20 arrows. Now, going back to the fighter, and the fact being of, right here, you have the craft skill, which means by rolling your d20 plus adding your intelligence bonus plus 3 plus the amount of ranks you have inside of the craft skill, you could actually make things. You can make items. There are a lot of different things you can do, but you can use the craft skill to help like make arrows, make bows, bowstrings. Now, you cannot make magical equipment as a fighter unless you take certain feats to do so. I apologize for that. But yeah, that's the entire thing about the proficiencies. The bravery, starting at 2nd level, you obtain a bravery, which gives you a +1 bonus on will saves against fear effects. Now, with the entire thing about fear effects, it's like a dragon. A dragon is menacing, it is huge, it is terrifying to face. They have an ability which will make you panicked, afraid of them, ultimately. And you need to make a will save or be affected by it. it is once again a mind-affecting effect, which is categorized as mind-affecting fear effect. That's where the bravery would come into play. Starting at second level, you gain a +1 bonus on will saves against fear effects. This bonus increases by 1 for every 4 levels beyond second level. As you can see, you have second level bravery, 6th level bravery, and so on and so forth as they increase. After that, we have our armor and weapon training. I'm categorizing them as both as one because they're technically the same concept. Starting at 3rd level, after a fighter learns to be more maneuverable while wearing armor. Whenever he is wearing armor, he reduces the armor check penalty by 1 to a minimum of 0 and increases the maximum dexterity bonus allowed by his armor by 1 for every 4 levels thereafter, 7th, 11th, and 15th. These bonuses increase by 1 each time. They increase each time by 1. So let's say 3rd level, there's +1 bonus. 7th, it increases to +2, 3 at 11th, and 4 at 15th, so on and so forth. To a maximum of a -4 reduction of armor check penalty and a +4 to armor bonus allowed. In addition, a fighter can also move at his normal speed while wearing medium armor. At 7th level, he can move his normal speed while wearing heavy armor. Now, armor on its own is also important. Let me open it up. You have 2 categories. You have armor and then you have shields. Now you can see you have a lot of bonuses here. A lot of bonus with the armor/shield bonus. Now, when it comes down to wearing armor, you can actually wear armor and also wear a shield. Wield a shield, sorry. We're going to use the padded armor as an example, which is labeled as padded. It costs 5 gold and is relatively cheap. The armor bonus is a bonus given to you by wearing it that increases the chance of you not being hit. That's where the AC comes into play. I will go over to the vampire, for example. Vampire, right here. AC 23, touch 17, flat-footed 18. Depending on which AC you need at the time period, depends on what the score is going to be. But we're going to stick with the base AC as it is, because the fact is, with touch and flat-footed are mostly used by other classes. Now, let me pop this open. Okay. Using the padded armor as a fantastic example, by looking at what it states here, you see maximum dex bonus. As you see, different armor have different max dex. Padded armor has a max dex of 8. Let's say we have a dexterity of 30. I know, big jump, but it's a good example. 30, subtract 10, divide that by 2. That gives us a +10 bonus. The max dex bonus tells us what's the maximum amount of dexterity we can add into our AC, which in this case for padded armor is 8. So we're not able to use the full dex bonus of 10, but we're doing pretty good. Now to calculate AC, you add 10 plus your armor bonus, which can be magically enhanced the same way weapons are. The higher the enhancement bonus on your armor is, the bigger the bonus. Let's say we have just straight out regular padded armor, gives us +1 because the armor bonus, and the max dex is an 8, so we add 8 to that. Means our AC is 19, but if we have it magical, meaning it's a magically enhanced armor, that'll be 10 plus the armor bonus plus the enchantment bonus. Let's say we have a +2 armor. We add an extra +2, making this bonus here, the 1, into a 3, plus the max dex of 8, which will make our AC a 21. And with that, that tells us the chance for us to be hit, how hard it is for us to be hit, and everything. But then you have shields. The difference between the medium, light, and heavy armors, though, the heavier your armor, because right now we just looked at the light armor. As you can see, the light armor, the further down you go, the higher the armor bonus is, but the lower your dex bonus is. Heavier your armor generally means the higher your armor bonus, but the lower your maximum dex bonus is. Now, each one can be enhanced, but looking at shields, for example, we have an AC of a 21. Yes, we have an AC of 21 because we have a +2 padded armor. So 10 plus 2 for being the +2 bonus will be magical, +1 plus, which is the armor bonus, plus our dexterity modifier. With that, that totals our AC without our shield. But when it comes down to the AC, which means armor class, by the way, we're going to use the buckler as a good example. It has a +1 armor bonus. It does not have a max dex bonus, and in doing so, it gives an extra +1 bonus to our AC. Now, I'm pretty sure you've noticed by now there's something called armor check penalty, which is both on armor and shield, and also arcane spell failure chance, speed, weight, and I'll explain about the arcane spell failure chance in another video. And the fact is, about the armor check penalty for things like you climbing, that's where some negatives come into play. The buckler itself says it gives you a -1 on armor check penalty. For an armor check penalty, sorry. So let's say our climb check total is a 10. That means whatever we roll plus the 10, let's say we roll a 5. That means we have to subtract the armor check penalty. Going back to the padded armor, which the buckler had a -1. Padded armor has no check penalty, armor check penalty at all. So that means just the buckler. So scroll back down to the buckler, which is a -1, and that's what we rolled. Now, you can see where it says speed. The heavier your armor, the more reduction in speed you will have. As you can see, so if you scroll all the way up, padded armor, which I chose, has a running speed of 30, standard speed of 40. Not 40, sorry, 20. Weight of 10. The weight also reduces the speed and the max carry weight, which is basically how much you can carry, which was the strength actually take consideration. But as you can see, that I just jumped over to heavy armor, but the heavier your armor, the slower you are, and the heavier the weight will be. Now, shields don't actually have a speed reduction, most of the time at least, that I found. The weight does vary, and also the gold cost varies. But the weight itself is primarily used to tell how much you can carry before you have made your speed reduction. But, as you can see, as I stated beforehand with the armor training, that's basically what the reduction is. Now, there's more on it. You can actually take a look at it for yourself by looking at the Pathfinder fighter. But there is a lot of information to go through, and even then now I'm summarizing a lot of it. Now with weapons, starting at 5th level, a fighter gains a special called weapon training. A fighter at 5th level can select one group of weapons, as noted below. Whenever he attacks with a weapon of this group, he gets a +1 bonus on damage rolls. Every 4 levels thereafter, 9th, 13th, and 17th, a fighter becomes further trained in another group of weapons. He gets a +1 bonus on all attacks and damage rolls when using a weapon from this group. In addition, the bonus granted by previous weapon groups increased by 1 each. For example, when a fighter reaches 9th level, he receives a +1 bonus on attack rolls, so on attack and damage rolls, with one weapon group, and a +2 on attack and damage rolls with a weapon group selected at 5th level. Bonuses granted from other overlapping groups do not stack. Take the highest bonus granted for a weapon if it resides in 2 or more groups. A fighter also adds this bonus to any combat maneuver check made with weapons from his group. The bonus also applies to fighter combat maneuvers, combat defense, when defending against disarm or sunder attempts made against weapons from this group. Now you can see you have advanced weapon training, but you can actually see you have different groups being selected, like axes, blades heavy, blades light. With like blades heavy, like kind of like great swords, bastard swords, while light, like daggers, short swords, I imagine. Even though I know there's a list here. You have bows, which are any type of bow, pretty much. And so on and so forth. There are such things as natural attacks. I'll get to that in another video. At 19th level, you gain a special called Armor Mastery. A fighter gains a damage reduction at 19th level of 5/dash whenever he is wearing armor or using a shield. Basically means whenever you actually use armor or a shield, you have this damage reduction of 5/dash, which means no matter what, nothing's getting around it. They're always going to be having their damage reduced by 5. Now, some things can be like a damage reduction of 5/magic, which means if you have a magical weapon or anything that's categorized as magical for damage, will actually get around that damage reduction. So it is really good because dash means nothing can get around it. There are other classes that gain a damage reduction. But no matter what, we're looking at the fighter for now. Then we have Weapon Mastery at 20th level. Every class ultimately gains a super powerful or massive bonus by 20th level that I've been able to find. And the fighter is no different. At 20th level, a fighter chooses one weapon, such as a longsword, great axe, or longbow. Any attack made with that weapon automatically confirms all critical threats, and have the damage multiplier increased by 1. Times 2 becomes times 3, for example. In addition, he cannot be disarmed while wielding a weapon of that type. Disarm, of course, I'm pretty sure you know what that means. But looking at weapons. Yeah, weapons. You have the chance to hit. Ultimately is nice, fine, and dandy, but you want a little bit more with it. You have your damage die, which is used for your size variants, which are more than just the small and medium, which is what the parentheses S and the M means. But let's use the dagger, for example. 2 gold is what it costs to be able to pay for this dagger. If you're a small size character, you Your damage die is a D3. If you're medium, it is a D4. You have a critical threat of 19 to 20. There are ways to make it lower, but it is times 2. Which means if you roll a 19 or better with your D20, you automatically have a chance of a critical. To confirm a critical, you need to be able to meet the enemy's AC by rolling the D20 again and adding your appropriate bonuses for that, being based off of the base attack bonus plus strength or dexterity, depending if you're using a ranged weapon or a melee weapon of any kind. And with it being times 2, you roll damage. Let's say you roll damage and you get a total of 20 damage. Normally that's how much damage the opponent would take, the enemy would take. Times 2, enter 40. But with that ability, that 20, instead of becoming a times 2, becomes a times 3. Critical hits allow you to be able to deal extra damage. Now, if you roll a natural 20 on any skill check, any saving throw, or any attack roll, you automatically hit no matter what, even if it is or is not a critical. Now, every weapon, as you can see, the punching dagger has a times 3 critical. Each one has a different critical rate. You have 19 to 20 for the dagger, but the punching dagger does not state. That means you have to roll a natural 20 to be able to try to have a critical hit. And that means we're using the punching dagger with the 20 damage, for example, that times 3 crit would become a times 4. But going over the ability once more, I skipped it, hold on, did I? I do apologize, but there is a lot to go through. There it is. With your chosen weapon, you automatically confirm critical hits, which means, let's say with the dagger, once again, you roll a 19 or better, that is a critical, there's a critical threat. What's your chance to hit with critical hit? But since this is an example of 20th level fighter, not only is the multiplier increased by 1 step, from being a times 2 to a times 3 for the dagger, as an example, it also automatically confirms to where you don't have to roll again. But with that, we went through the class. I've explained a lot. And with that, I'm going to end the video here. Thank you for joining me. Hope you enjoy the world of Pathfinder and all of its capabilities. I hope to see you in another video.